In this week's video, I've got a very difficult task for you. Forget everything you know about the golf swing. I'll wait. Oh, are you done? Okay, cool. We can get started then. Hey everybody, welcome back to Golf Test Dummy, the channel where I use my game to help your game. What I was asking you to do in the beginning of the video is a very tall task, and let's be honest, it's pretty much impossible. But you don't necessarily need to erase everything in your golfing mind. You just have to keep that mind open. Now, a few days ago, I heard a snippet of a speech that Elon Musk was giving where he was talking about his physics background a little bit, and he explained something in physics called first principles. And basically, what that concept is that you boil everything down and you get it to components that you can't change, things you can't get around, whatever it is that you're dealing with that can't be changed. And anytime you're trying to do something new, you want to get to those core values, those things that absolutely cannot change. And from there, you can add variables to it, but you don't want to destroy the core values or the first principles. Now, for all you sci-fi fans out there that are nerds like me, you might remember in RoboCop, whenever he was trying to go out and do whatever it was that he was doing, RoboCop type stuff, on his screen, in his little face mask would pop up the prime directives, and he could never break the prime directives. That's what I'm talking about here. Laws of physics and ball flight dynamics that can't be changed. Now, after you've established those first principles, those core values, those prime directives that you cannot do anything about, inevitably, what you're going to have to do from that point is begin to introduce variables. We don't want to introduce any kind of variables that are going to be just wild and crazy. We want to start with something that, again, keeps the spirit of what we're trying to do with the golf club as the principle, the guiding point on the compass. And from there, we will learn what are bad pathways and what are good pathways. And I would say that if you've got to make a bigger swing than the chip and pitch type swings that I was showing you in last week's video, what we want to do is just try to make that a little bit bigger without getting too crazy and too far out there. So let's do a quick little recap of what I went over, and we'll see if we can make this swing a little bit bigger. Now, if you remember last week's video, I talked about let's go ahead and preset the club. That's what I'm doing anyway. I'm presetting the club back to where I want it to return instead of setting it vertical and then trying to make a series of moves and manipulations to get it to a different position. I'm just going to go ahead and start it in that position and then set myself up to the club rather than asking the club, which doesn't change, to set up to me. Now, it doesn't matter how you're swinging. If you were to just take a video of this section down here at knee height of any player's golf club traveling from knee height over here to knee height over here, if they're decent golfers, they make decent strikes, it's gonna look pretty much the same coming into and exiting the golf ball. So last week I made a series of little chips and pitches, taking this form that I have here with the forward shaft lean and almost doing like a putt, where I just rock my shoulders back and forth. I want that swing from my knees back here to my knees out here to be that shallow, circular, and descending path like all good players have. So when I make a larger swing, I don't want to sacrifice that. I don't want to get crazy and introduce insane variables. I want to try and introduce variables that I think have very little risk of ruining what's going on down near the golf ball. Also, we need to be thinking externally. We need to be thinking about things outside of our bodies. It's been scientifically proven through study after study after study that people who focus internally when it comes to sports and activities like this see less results than those that are focused more on something external, such as the golf club, the target down range, or the golf ball itself. You need to be thinking externally. So instead of me thinking about what can I do with my body here in order to get the club to track and maintain the lower part of the circle and have the correct impact with the golf ball, I want to be thinking about what the club is doing rather than how I'm going to move my body to do it. The subconscious should take over and figure out how to make happen what you want to happen. So my swings last week were pretty much just knee high to knee high. Good, solid, crisp contact, good circular pathway, velocity and trajectory out toward the target, catching the ball at the right point, exposing the sweet spot of the club by having that forward shaft lean and that descending blow, all things coming together in the lower part of the swing. Now, expanding on that, I also, when I was doing my single plane swing review of the Mo Norman type swing, I made a video called Making the Circle. in which I found that just focusing on trying to make a circle with this golf club around my body that was on plane or close to on plane anyway, for me, it helped me tremendously. It really made a huge difference in the results that I was getting from the single plane swing. It made everything so easy. It really just made it click. Just thinking about drawing that circle all the way around me, I had no concept and no idea of what was going on with my body parts when I did that, because all I was thinking was tracing a circle around me with the club head. I hope I don't have to take my mic off for this, but it might jostle around on my shirt. So I'm presetting the club here, and again, I'm thinking club head, and I'm thinking about making a half circle around my body. Good solid contact, right down the middle. It almost hit the middle marker of the range, and I know that it turned out great because I can hear the result. I can hear a good crisp shot. I can feel it travel up the club into my hands, and I can sense it. That is a good way to go about it. Now, did I make a perfect half circle? I really don't know. Was my elbow and my body in the right position? I haven't got a clue, but I know what results are, and those results are exactly what I was looking for. So if I start to introduce variables, things like, I don't know, if I start to get body focused and I'm thinking about my elbow and where my wrist is, and I'm thinking about, did I turn enough? Is my weight in the right spot? Should I keep my back leg bent? Should I straighten it? If I'm thinking about all those things, what's going on with this golf club? I mean, who knows? Who knows? In theory, if you move the body correctly, then the club should move correctly and then come back to the golf ball. But that seems like some sort of a superhero type feat to ask of biomechanics. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me that we've been doing it backwards. We're thinking about how to move our body and make the club follow what our bodies are doing, rather than the swinging of this club and gravity and a nice geometric shape that works well in a swing, a circle, letting that govern how our body moves and responds to the swinging of the club. Some people refer to it as the tail wagging the dog rather than the dog wagging the tail, and they make that argument, but I don't know that that's necessarily a great parallel. I think that the way that we want this club to swing, if we were able to put a light on the end of this and film me in a dark room and the club was traveling around me, I think that we need to worry about making that light be that circular motion around us, rather than thinking about how we're going to manipulate our bodies. And honestly, a lot of this instruction is trying to get people to move in ways that are not natural. They don't coincide with a lot of the things that we already know how to do in our daily lives that we use our bodies for. It just doesn't add up for me. And think about it like this. If I gave you a list of 12 things that you needed to do in 1 second, 1 second of time, you would probably be paralyzed. You would have zero idea of what all those things were and in what order they should go. You would have a hard time with it. It would take you years to figure that thing out. But if I just gave you one simple thought, just make a circle with this club head around you and pass it through the golf ball, that is a much easier task to complete. So with me, I'm setting the club up right to where I want it to return. A little bit of forward shaft lean. I'm getting set up to the club, and all I'm going to think about is making a circle around me that basically my hands get about this high. I want to think about the club just traveling around in a circle. Get back here. And again, right down the middle. It's probably going to hit, oh, it almost hit the marker. I mean, that's so much easier to think about making a circle with this club head around you, something so easy, and then you can see the blur. As Sean Clement talks about, you can picture the blur, and you just want that blur to pass right through where that golf ball is, and that's a much simpler, much easier ask than trying to remember a dozen or more body motions. If you've been following this channel for any length of time here recently, you'll know that I injured my chest. I was playing around with a new swing method, seeing if I wanted to make a go of it, maybe do a review on this channel like I've done with so many swing methods in the past 3 years, and I injured myself. And in that time, I've had to stop swinging a golf club. I've had to take it easy. I haven't been able to make full swings. So the speed training that I was working on before I got injured, all of that speed is gone. All of the mechanics that I was working on trying to make myself look like Rory McIlroy or Adam Scott or whoever else has the perfect swing, the perfect mechanically sound swing of the day, all of that stuff went out the window when I couldn't swing for weeks. You have to stay familiar with it. But nobody has to stay familiar with making a circle. We can draw a circle in the sand with a stick. We can draw a circle on a piece of paper. We can make a circle with our hands around our body. We can do that. We know how to do that, and we never worry about what our body is doing or what positions we're in while we're doing it. We just focus on that task at hand that is external. It's outside of us. We're thinking about what's going on out here rather than what's going on in here. All right, one more, just because I can never get enough hitting golf balls. I'm going to preset the club to my impact position. I'm going to step in and set myself up to the club, take my grip, and then I'm just going to focus on making a half circle around my body and see what we get. Right down the middle. Perfect contact, great sound. Guys, lay your bets right now. Next week, I'm going to try and take my swing from a half swing all the way up to a full swing. Do you think that I'm going to involve trying to get my elbow in the right position, or maybe I need to make a fuller turn, or I need to think about my hip girdle or my pelvic rotation or anything like that? Or do you think maybe I'm just going to draw a bigger circle with this golf club next week in order to get the ball to go further? Place your bets down in the comments now below. See you in next week's video.